Hey, I'm Serenity. Welcome back to my kitchen. We're doing another heart cake today in the heart cake series. This angle is kind of funny. I'm sorry. It is currently my 22nd birthday today, and we are making my cake together. Kind of crazy to think that a year ago I made my first ever heart cake, and it's come full circle because I'm making my cake again, which making my birthday cake last year got me back into baking. As a huge Swiftie and it's my 22nd birthday, you know that means one thing. We are making a Eras Tour friendship bracelet inspired cake with mirror balls, silver, glitter, bows, the whole shebang. I'm gonna be so transparent with you. Pink is not my favorite color. I don't love pink. It's like one of my least favorite colors, but it felt fitting for this cake. I actually saw a long time ago a cake like this with a friendship bracelet on top. I was really inspired by it, and that's the cake I wanted for my birthday. So we are making a pink cake together. I'm gonna be walking you through how to make the cake, the stuff on top, how to use glitter, and all that. So let's get into it. We're gonna start by stacking and crumb coating our cake. So I'm using pumpkin cake layers, and then this is just the Russian buttercream I always use. Creating a border wall and sealing it with a offset spatula, and then filling that with my cream cheese filling. And I'm just going to repeat this with the next layer. This is so the cream cheese filling doesn't ooze out because it is a thinner consistency. Then I like to do what I call close the seams, where I pipe around where the cakes meet and then smooth that out to start my crumb coat. I'm adding more of my Russian buttercream to seal those edges and then completing my crumb coat like this. Now I crumb coat in white because I like an opaque base. That way you don't have to use a lot of food coloring. Set that in the freezer, and once it's set, we're going to start on what I call my top coat. Basically, this is our final color. So I pipe my top coat all the way up the sides. I'm using about 1/2 inch of a border for this. Smooth it out with an offset spatula, and the excess always goes on top. And you're going to fill in the little spots and then add more buttercream, smoothing this out to the best of your abilities. Then set that in the freezer so it sets and we can smooth it to sharp, crisp edges. Now the way I do this is I either use a hot cup of water, or I use a spatula that I light on fire on the stove. That's what I did here. So I just stick my spatula on the stove fire for a couple seconds. That way I can melt the buttercream and get these smooth, crisp edges all the way around, and then just wipe off the buttercream in a separate bowl. That way you don't melt the other buttercream, if that makes sense. I'm doing the same with the offset spatula on top of the cake to get sharp edges. And this is just a trial and error. You're gonna have to patch up those like little bald spots you'll see me doing with the melted buttercream. But once that's smooth enough, it's time to move on to our decorating. So I'm using edible glitter on the top. Technically there is no FDA approved edible glitter, but this is like food safe edible glitter, if that makes sense. Anyways, I'm pouring just a little bit of sprinkle on top and then spreading it out with my finger till I get just the center of the cake covered, because we're gonna be piping the edges. So you really don't want to waste glitter because this stuff is not cheap. Anyways, I'm gonna go in with my favorite, the 6B shell tip, and do my normal border around. And for me, all my piping needs to go in one direction, so you can see I always have the shells pointing to the point. I don't just go all the way around. It's a weird pet peeve of mine when it comes to these heart cakes. Anyways, to start the swoops, I'm using a 150 tip from Wilton. Now you can see there's like these outlines on there. Try to make an outline of my swoops, but my cookie cutter wasn't giving what I wanted, and it was 3 in the morning, and this is where I should have wiped it off and done the swoops where they're coming down from the top of the cake. I worried about disturbing the glitter, and realistically I shouldn't have even worried about that because I probably would have liked this cake a lot more. And also I meant to do a ruffle like in the inspiration pic under the top shell border, and I just didn't, but that's okay. But for the top lip, I used a 21 shell tip to go all the way around, and then for down here I'm using the lighter pink color and a 16 tip to go all the way around to give the cake some more dimension. And I'm also going to use that same 16 tip to go and trace the upper inside of the cake on the top to give a little bit more dimension. I want to make sure the pinks are kind of even around the cake. I'm also using that same tip for the under part of the swoop, but this time I'm using the darker pink color, as you can see here. And then finally I'm going to use a 14 shell tip, which is the smallest shell tip, to go on top of the swoops. Now I wasn't too concerned with them being uneven because we were going to cover them up with all the embellishments, as I mentioned. And there's nothing glitter and bows and disco balls that they can't fix. So once I was semi-satisfied with all the piping, I made these bows with ribbon, and I made sure they had longer tails than I would need. That way I could cut them off if it wasn't even. But before that, I decided I needed 2 more layers of piping. So I used that 14 tip on the bottom again in the darker pink, and then I traded the tip for the 14 tip in the lighter pink on top. With these, the more piping you do, the better they always look. It's giving maximalist is the thing with these cakes. But a good tip is I actually only hold like the bottom 3 inches of the piping bag. That way I can be more precise in one hand and then the other hand is holding the top of the piping bag, if that makes sense. Then it's time to put our bows on, and I crossed the bottom of their ends to give them this pretty like ballerina feel. It was so cute. Aren't they so cute? And they're just going where each of the swoops connect. To put the letters on, it was a struggle, okay? Glitter, not easy. So at first I thought, okay, I could just pipe some buttercream thinly and it'll stay. And it did not. Believe me, I wrote a whole message out like that and it wouldn't stick. So I googled it and I learned if you just dip the back of your letters into some veggie oil, just a little bit, just like the capful, you can get your letters to stick a lot easier to the glitter. So that's what I did here. And yes, these are real friendship bead letters. No one was going to eat them. Finally, I went in with my toothpick disco balls. And yes, I know it's poking out at one angle. Don't worry. I trimmed the bottom of the stick and then poked it back in. And then I used these big silver sprinkles and little silver sprinkles all the way around the cake. And before you ask, everything I put on this cake, I take off before we cut it. So all the bows, the disco balls, even the big pearl sprinkles, because I don't want to break a tooth, all come off. And of course the beads. So nothing is left but the cake and the buttercream before serving, before we cut the cake. Also, everything I used on this cake and to decorate the background will be linked down below. Here's the final cake. I loved her. You know, she was a labor of love, but she came out so pretty. And here actually is my birthday setup. We did the whole Feeling 22 theme because we had to. You know, we did. It is a Taylor Swift themed birthday, as we all know. Also, this cake with the flash on, it's giving its glitter moment. If you can't tell which era I'm dressing up for the Eras tour yet. As you can see, the letters were kind of swishing and swaddling. They're real friendship bracelet letters, okay? The cake's only for me and my family. They can wipe them off. I really do not care. They don't care. And I was too lazy to realistically make them edible. Now, the cake wasn't my favorite. It was 3 in the morning and I had to get it done. I couldn't really do exactly what I wanted because by the time I realized something, it was too late to scrape off. Looking back, I should have scraped it off. It's not perfect, but it's cute. It's edible. And yeah, I have a lot of cake videos coming to you this month along with another series. So don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe if you haven't already. All my socials are linked down below if you want to follow me. If you have any cake requests, leave them down below. And as always, the doggo picture of the day is going to be this picture of Clover. So I actually bought Scarlett, my angel, the love of my life, a bed for the floor in my room because she was having surgery, and then Clover, her son, decided, you know what, this is for me. This is my bed, so that's him. But that's all I have for you. Love you, mean it, kisses, don't do anything stupid, and I'll see you next time. Bye.
I know you told your friend you're not okay, and tell me what's wrong and why you never said you felt